What's up? You know what it is. Your boy Kapone, come from the Hennessy Interview Studios, man. I'm in here doing what I do, and I got a hit in the DM. I told you I check my DMs all the time, and it's an honor to have this brother on, man. We've been reaching out, talking to each other, and I finally got a chance to lock him down. Robert Kenneth, the author of The Marathon Don't Stop, The Life and Times of Nipsey Hussle. Send me a copy of it. Excellent. I've been waiting to get this book. It's an amazing piece of work. First of all, let me jump right into it, Rob. The inspiration behind this. How did this all come together, bro?
Well, the inspiration is due to the fact that I was blessed to meet Nip Hussle in the early stages of his whole campaign. He came up to the office of Vibe magazine. This is 2009, during the Bullets Ain't Got No Name, Volume 1, Volume 2 era, when he was really just getting his weight up in the industry. And you know, he walked in the room in Vibe magazine, and everyone that was in that room remembers that young man. He was an impressive individual. He had a swag and a charisma, and just his whole demeanor was different. You know, I meet a lot of artists, I know you do too, and there was something about him that just set him apart. And you know, that was before he pressed play. So when he played that Bullets project, particularly the song that always stands out for me was a track called Dre Jackin' for Beats. And I encourage you to put that one in rotation again off of Bullets Volume 1. This is young Nip Hussle flowing over the gin and juice beat. And if you can just picture in your mind, like, that's not a beat that you can just play games with. You have to know what you're saying on that. And he said everything he needed to say with confidence and authenticity. And anyway, at the end of it all, I took him to the side. I said, look, man, just keep doing what you're doing. We're going to be listening. We're going to give you all the strength we can. His goal was to get a page in Vibe magazine. And by God, he got that. You know, we gave him a one-page look. You know, our next section was a launching pad for a lot of beautiful careers, from Mary J. Blige, Nas, Biggie, Outkast. They all got their first look in Vibe. And, you know, that was Nipsey's goal. And I found out later when I was working on the book, he had been trying for a while to get that look in Vibe. And I was unaware of this, but he was actually getting a little frustrated that we didn't recognize his greatness, you know, like, but he made his way in there, set a goal, and he kept working towards it. It was a marathon vision from early. So that was the inspiration. I could see he was a different type of person. And over time, as I'm sure you did too, we saw all the things that he accomplished in Los Angeles and all the things he was doing for his community. And I realized, damn, nobody's telling his story. Nobody is really putting it down like they need to understand. Like, I know New York, I can say being based in New York, I went to college in Chicago, but I made my home in New York, and New York slept on Nipsey Hussle. The rap industry slept on Nipsey Hussle, and he didn't give a damn. He was just building his movement, you know, from Slauson and Crenshaw to the world. And I just felt like it was my responsibility as somebody that had a perspective on him in the game to just tell his story and present it to the world. And by God, you know, the book has come out and people have embraced it. I'm on with Tone Kapone, WGCI. What's up, man?
That's right. That's what we doing here. And what it is, and a lot of it comes from your personal perspective with Nip, especially like during the Victory Lab, which I got a chance to interview him during the Victory Lab tour. Yep. It was my first time really. I did with them before. I watched other interviews, but my chance to interview him. And like you said, the energy just exudes off of him. But the most impressive thing is Nip's mindset. His mindset about music and the way it was supposed to be given to the consumer. And when you got in the game as an artist, how you supposed to move, because once it's gone, like we said, I want to get to this, your feelings about DMX, because we know once the music industry is done with you, it is done with you. And it's kind of like, all right.
Yeah.
Like, all right. And Nip was on something totally different. Talk about that.
Well, I had the same experience as you. I really had a long convo during the Victory Lab media rollout, and you know, he came up to the offices at Mass Appeal at the time where I was working, and you know, we chopped it up for over an hour. It was like the earliest appointment any rapper has ever made for an interview, 9:30 a.m. he came up to the office and my crew was like, is he really coming on time? Like, do we really have to set up all the lights in advance of 9:30 a.m.? I said, just be ready, man. Nip Hussle is coming. And he was 10 minutes early and we just chopped it up, man. He poured his green tea and he one of the things he said, just jumping off of your statement there, is that the people that made the rules of the game were not artists. They were not creative people. They were not people that's really in it for love. They were business people that wanted to extract the maximum value out of these artists that do it for love. And even you do it for love. I know you and me, we're in this because we love this music and this culture. And, you know, we didn't make the rules of the game, but we've made a way for ourselves. And, you know, after I had that conversation, I realized, you know, when I walked out of that room, like, Nip Hussle made me look at my life different. He made me look at my whole perspective, you know, and I'm not the only one that had that experience. When you had the opportunity to really spend time and chop it with him, it's like, wow, this is way more than an interview. This is way more than a rapper trying to promote his album. You know, I walked out of that room with a different perspective on life and my whole incentive as a creative person in this world. Like, what am I really doing here? You know, like, what is this all about on a bigger level? And he would ask you, I'm sure he said to you too, like, what are you doing, Tone Kapone? Like, what is your vision for your life and your perspective? Because that's the type of brother he was. And, you know, so I just, you know, the last question that I asked Nip in that interview of the marathon, of the, you know, of the victory lap, I said, you know, I appreciate the fact that all of the insights and all of the game that you have picked up, you share it with people. It's not like you're trying to keep it to your chest and hide it from people. You know, it seems like you want people to follow in your footsteps. And his response to me was, I'm not outside handing out bags of money, but the game is free, you know? And, you know, when we were youngsters coming up in Los Angeles, that's all we expected from the OGs was give us a game. You know, you don't have to give us all the secrets in life, but just give us the game, because, you know, that's, if you don't give it, it's like you're hating. It's like you're blocking the young people from coming up. And so, you know, in writing this book, The Marathon Don't Stop, that was my intention, is to carry Nip's intention forward of, you know, passing on the game, passing on the knowledge, studying the moves that he made, the obstacles that he overcame, so that he could be that legendary figure that we're all still talking about to this day, you know? And that's it.
Absolutely. Real quick, man, I want to know, because we've seen a couple pillars, I like to call them, first ballot hip hop Hall of Famers. They passed away. We lost DMX, we lost Shock G. During all this, I mean, have you had any encounters with them? I'm sure you have. Talk about some of that real quick.
Obviously, you know, DMX had that first cover in '98 in Vibe magazine. You know, there was a cover where we did Big Dogs. It was actually Snoop and DMX double cover in '98. And, you know, I edited that cover piece. And, you know, at the time, you know, shout out to Karen Good, who wrote the story, and I was the editor on that piece. And I recently had a moment just to reminisce about that, because, you know, DMX is somebody who, again, like Nip Hussle, he came into the game from a pure intention. He wasn't trying to, like, play that industry politics bullshit. You know, Nipsey said, fuck the middleman. DMX had a record about the industry, and you could look up the lyrics and understand what he felt about the industry. But, you know, the fact is that they're not always coming from a pure place. They're not always coming from, you know, a genuine intention. And, you know, the people that gravitated to DMX message, the reason why he had 5 #1 albums in a row is because he was speaking some truth that, you know, people could relate to, people from all walks of life, whether you're from the suburbs or you're from, you know, the belly of the beast. DMX was speaking real things. And, you know, it's unfortunate to see, after his great success, record-breaking success, starring in movies, breaking barriers that rap had never achieved, saving Def Jam at a time when they were a little bit on the brink, you know, like DMX made them the hottest label again. And for him was, you know, not filing his taxes and going through substance abuse issues and all the things that caught up with him. You know, where were the people that benefited off DMX to step in and just put an arm around his shoulder and say, you know, let's get this together. Let's make these things right, you know? And so, you know, everyone wants to come and celebrate him at, you know, his memorial. It's the same as when you think about all the people that slept on Nipsey Hussle before he passed. You know, the Staples Center filled up with people, you know, singing his praises, but the industry didn't always do right by these brothers. And, you know, it's important to remember that and just know you need to keep your real circle around you. You need to keep the people that really rocked with you from the ground up, and just know the difference between the yes men and the enablers and the parasites and the hypocrites, and then the real ones, you know? And I think Nipsey Hussle helped us see that distinction. I think DMX understood it too. But, you know, it's unfortunate to look at the trials and tribulations that people have to go through in this game. It's a cold game, as Nip said in that record. Lord knows it's a cold game. And, you know, we've seen it played out again and again. What about Shock G? What about bringing someone like Tupac to the forefront? You know, what about the production that he did? People think of him as Humpty Hump and this character, this fun. You know, he was that, but he was a whole lot more. He's a genius musically. He used to freestyle playing the piano, sitting in the hotel lobby during the tour dates after the show. You know, these are the genius level artists that hip hop has brought to the world. And, you know, if we don't celebrate them while they're here, all we can do is talk about them after they passed, you know. And, you know, that's why I wrote this book, The Marathon Don't Stop. I started long before Nipsey, you know, had that atrocity that took place on March 31st. I knew this was a book I had to write from the moment I walked out of the room on that Victory Lap interview. I was like, this is way more than a 5-minute YouTube interview. This is a person who's a giant in this hip hop culture and hasn't had his story told properly. There weren't even magazine covers on him, apart from, you know, the GQ piece about Lauren and Nipsey's relationship was a beautiful article, but there wasn't enough written just to understand his whole significance to this culture and all the things he was doing for his community, investing the profits of his music and his merchandise and, you know, the businesses he built, the employment opportunities he provided. And in Chicago, I have to say, I'm speaking to Chicago right now. You know, there's a lot of street culture in Chicago. There's a lot of stress and a lot of worries and problems that go with that. And, you know, Nip Hussle was someone that came from that street culture in Los Angeles and had an intention to bring it to purpose, which was to benefit the community and act as a, you know, a defense for the community against outside people. You know, even the police used to harass certain people in the neighborhood in LA, you know, and Nipsey understood the history of what we call gangs in Los Angeles. And I say this to say, you know, when he came to Chicago, I'm quite sure you spoke about this too. You know, there's a whole culture in Chicago that's going back a long way, generations, you know, and there's a lot of stress and a lot of problems that have come into modern life. But Nipsey understood why these neighborhood organizations exist. And I think he was working from within to try to bring them back to their true purpose. And I hope that, you know, people will read this book, The Marathon Don't Stop, and understand what these organizations are really doing to protect the neighborhood, you know, to protect people that were being assaulted and harassed by police and harassed by even racist white gangs that wanted to harass Black kids going to school or harass families that moved out of certain neighborhoods because they weren't supposed to move out of, you know, the red line districts. There's a lot of history in America that I had to learn and put down in this book. It's more than just about a rap artist who, you know, overcame obstacles. I'm trying to place Nipsey Hussle in the context of hip hop history, American history, and Los Angeles history. And I hope it's something that youth in Chicago can tap in and understand as well and find something of value for themselves.
Man, I appreciate you so much, Robbie. Tell everybody where they can grab the book, please. Tell them where they can grab the book, and then anything else that you're working on, my brother. I can sit and listen. You like a big TED talk.
Listen, man, it's an honor to chop it up with you, Tone Kapone. Hit me up on Instagram. The link is in my bio. It's at Robert J. Kenner. And, you know, in the link, you can buy the audiobook, the ebook, the hardcover, you know, all the press we're doing, the different events. I'm actually doing a talk with Kool Herc on Thursday, the godfather of hip hop. We're going to be chopping it up with Davey D from the Bay, Jeff Chang, and Kool Herc and his sister Cindy that actually had the first hip hop party in the Bronx back in 1970 something, you know, like that's the birth of this thing we call hip hop. But we do this for love, but it's about more than a good time. It's about empowering a community. It's about young people taking control of their future. And, you know, listen, I got a lot of things in the works. There's some things that we're going to be announcing over the days to come, but right now I'm 1,000% focused on this Nipsey Hussle movement because the marathon don't stop. And, you know, of course, we can send you a few books for your listeners to give away if you want to do that. You know, I'm 100% down. Like, I want Chicago to read this book. It's not even about selling books. I just want this book to be read by the real youths in the streets. We are here representing for the people. And that's what Nipsey Hussle did. You know, his whole thing was to give the game away for free. And that's what this book is about. It's just passing that game on for those that can do something with it.
I appreciate you so much, brother. God bless you, man. Keep doing that good work, all right?
All right, Tone Kapone. Big respect to the whole Chicago, Hyde Park, West Side, everybody that's tuning in. Lisa Kenner, Triumphant Charter School, you know, the whole works, man. Big respect in all aspects.
Love.